But I can't believe how unaware I was when both these things, came up. 72
Yeah.
hours on the land sale, right, under Lee, and then this roadless rule, you've got 7 days to make comments. It didn't even hit news, circuits at all, and now it's here. So we just gotta pay more attention and stay on it because there's nothing good coming out of it.
You mentioned the cartels, and I want to talk a little bit about your work specifically when you were a game warden and what you encountered because it's the border policy has certainly shifted
Mhm.
at the southern border, and you can talk to border patrol, DHS
Yeah.
people, and they'll tell you. I mean, well, you don't even actually need to talk to them. You can go straight Excel spreadsheet on this
Right.
one, and the numbers are what the numbers
Yeah.
are. It's interesting though. I've hosted quite a few episodes talking about the northern border. And this makes total sense to me,
Mhm.
right? Because I feel like the cartels are basically a Fortune 5 business at this point, given
Absolutely.
the amount of money they
Yep.
create. And they're like a river. If they encounter an obstacle, a rock, they'll go around it, right? They figure out a
Mhm.
way to satisfy the demand, which is an issue that we certainly have here in the US. And I don't even know if that's solvable actually from the human experience, but we can put that one aside. And I'm talking to people who, they have direct interface with cartels in Canada
Mhm.
and the northern border. I'm curious your thoughts on this because I live about 60 miles if I could go straight north from the Canadian border. Libby's probably about the same actually, because I think you're about due west from where I'm
Mhm.
at. Man, the border is porous. There's no big fence like there is along
Exactly.
the southern border. And it's very interesting to me. The Canadian government. Yep. Nope. There is no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys seized 10 pounds of fentanyl, or we seized, or they seized 10 pounds of fentanyl last year. It's not an issue. And then you talk to people who are on the ground
Mhm.
and they are painting a completely different picture. And and this ties actually back into these beautiful wilderness spaces that we have.
Mhm.
You want to talk about a tactical exploitation to move people, material, drugs, whatever it is. I actually have a pretty good level of concern about a lateral from the south to the north because they're going to be going right through our own backyard, man.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. I'm really glad you're bringing it up, and I've discussed it on some other shows as well. I've been getting a lot of questions and comments about it, and ironically, because you and I both live so close to the northern border now, and it's one
Yep.
thing to be in California and fighting the influx of Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation and all these, cannabis operations and everything else coming from the southern border. But now, again, it's a fill and flow. This is a very and I like that you define these cartels as like a Fortune 5 company. They're vertically
Dude, they're
integrated.
going to make their
Yeah, they're
money.
gonna make their
They're
money.
diversified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're organized about it. They're very dangerous and savage, that's true, but they're very savvy business-wise. They're very savvy from being covert. They disguise, they camouflage, and it's a cat and mouse game. I mean, they're constantly improving their game to get around, and so we haven't seen better southern border control, to your point, in generations, and that's great. It's really cool how locked up down there, how much safer it's become, and yeah, a lot of trafficking has come to a nil or close to it, but everything has shifted north, and yeah, I'm 33 miles, I think, is straight up the Yak Highway to the Alberta border,
Yep.
and between you and I over in the Flathead Valley of that, what, maybe a 100-mile stretch of northern borderland, you said it best. It's about the remote wilderness experience you're gonna have for a border between 2 nations, I think, than
It's
anywhere
a
on earth.
I flew over it.
Yeah.
I flew over it in the helicopter on my way to Calgary. It's basically looks like a lawnmowered
Yeah,
stretch. There's trees, 10-foot gap,
yeah.
trees. Welcome to the US or welcome to Canada, depending on which direction you're
I
going.
think the cattle fences I cross when I'm doing tule elk protection and cattle calf protection here is more significant than the border fence that's running through that wooded
Yeah.
stretch. It's literally like a cattle fence in some places, and it's 5,000 miles long, man. So and I know from talking to border agents that work in our neck of the woods and these guys were all through COVID, they were being deployed down on the southern border where they needed resources.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of guys up here for the most remote stretch, and Sinaloa, Jalisco, they're doing exactly what you just said. They've shifted north. We know that. We also know that the Canadian Royal Mounted Police groups, they don't have the infrastructure to deal with the cartels effectively because they're
Yeah.
just not designed like American groups and task forces and narcotics and the Met team we built. I mean, it takes a lot of resources and a lot of time and a lot of dedicated effort and really a lot of budget and personnel. And those guys up there, sadly, they don't really have that in place right now, and I'm, seeing the same thing I'm sure you're hearing from other guests in that fentanyl production just happening on farms now on the West Coast. Up there, in Canada, on the Alberta side, Vancouver, all those areas,
Yeah.
human trafficking, everything from avocados, like they're doing down in Mexico, things like that, but that's a huge issue, and the crossing is very easy.